Hey, Mitch,
What's up?
you ready for some in-season basketball?
No, I am.
You are?
In
All right.
season 20, here
Let's,
we go.
hey, huh?
In season 20, here we go.
Yeah, boy. We'll see, man. We got a lot to talk about the in-season tournament.
Cha-ching.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code all lowercase LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. So you said cha-ching, huh? You think that this
Yeah,
is a great way for the league to get some moolah?
yeah, I think it's a bit of a money grab.
You
Yeah,
do, yeah,
yeah, I do. But I think it will be interesting.
yeah. Like here's the thing. So for y'all that don't know, I'm Keith Pompey, co-host of Locked On 76ers. I got my man right next to me, Overbrook's finest, Howard's finest, in legendary NBA beat writer John Mitchell in the building.
That's
So we're gonna
Overbrook in West Philly. That's Overbrook in West Philly, not the one.
break. Now you sure you ain't the one from South Jersey?
Not from South Jersey.
So, yo, it's funny because I live in South Jersey now, right? We moved to South Jersey, and I remember days like they told me, "Yeah, you got to go cover Overbrook," and I'm like, "Yo, so why y'all send me over to South Jersey to cover
Who they
Overbrook?"
play? You said who they playing? Edison?
Yeah, I was like, "Yo, like, I'm like, over here, yo, you sure you don't want the other dude?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." So then I
Yeah,
looked that school up. Some pretty good people came out of there, though, man.
yeah, yeah. Didn't
Ron Day.
Ron Dane,
Yeah.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
and I live it's not too far from where I live at now. Like you roll past the school, like you go the back road, da da da. So
I,
it's cool.
I
But
covered Ron Dane when he was playing it over when I was at the Courier Post.
okay, so you know a little bit of that
Yeah,
South
I do.
Jersey
And
stuff.
he was a man back then.
Who did they play back to that game?
Well, they played the Cherry Hill East and all those
Oh,
schools,
okay, okay,
But
okay.
boy,
Yeah, he was
he was a
yeah,
special athlete to watch, man.
a huge dude, shot putter
Oh,
too.
yeah, he was a
Yeah, yeah,
fantastic athlete. Amazing.
yeah. But look, y'all don't want to hear about that. But what y'all want to hear us talk about is this in-season tournament. So tonight, the Sixers will open up the in-season tournament against the Detroit Pistons, um, in East Group One. So in East Group One is the Sixers, is the Pistons, is the Cleveland Cavaliers, is the Atlanta Hawks, and it's the Indiana Pacers. Now, for both teams, this is the first game. Now, for give you guys people who don't know, the group stage is going to run every Tuesday and Friday through November the 28th in what will be called tournament nights. The quarterfinals will be played at NBA arenas on December 4th and 5th before the tourney heads to Las Vegas for the Final Four. The teams that advance to the knockout round will compete for a prize pool and the NBA Cup. Now, when you watch the game tonight, if you watch it, you don't adjust your TVs because you're going to see an ugly court. I mean, the court's going to look crazy, but just know that this is part of the format. Now, they don't think it's ugly, but I think it's ugly. But that's
Yeah.
part of the format. Now, Mitch, I have a little, I don't know if I should be concerned, but I'm big into trap games. And, right now we look at the Sixers. The Sixers are coming off of a great win. A
Yeah.
great win against the Boston Celtics. The
Hmm.
Sixers are 6-1 in the East, number one record in the East. You look at they have a 6-game winning streak. the longest winning streak in the NBA. You look at the Detroit Pistons, 2-7, worst record in the East. 6-game losing streak.
A lot of injured players.
A lot of injured players. They got a 6-game losing streak, the longest one. Now, if you're the Sixers, like playing game, we got to go here for this. I mean, not playing in-season tournament, we got to go here for this. But then we go home and we got a 2-game homestand against Indiana, who is a surprising team in the East.
Yep. Yeah.
This is the ingredient, if you ain't careful, that get a slip up. And in the past, this is vital for Nick Nurse because in the past, they would always lose these type of games.
Yeah.
But what's your thoughts, man?
I think that you're right, man. I remember, in the past under Doc, there was sometimes they would come out there, and even going back as far as Brett Brown, when they were successful under Brett Brown, they would come out after a tough game and struggle a little bit against a bad team. It doesn't get much worse than, this is like Washington. We had Washington at the start of the week, and now you've got Detroit at the end of the week. And it very well could be a trap game, but I don't think so. I think that the Sixers will come out, and my sense is that they're going to handle their business. It's a good opportunity for for them to see, their bounce back, and extend this winning streak to 7 games, which I think they will, and then come home, like you said, against an Indiana team that's scoring with the best of them. It's got a few good wins on the schedule already, so I think they'll be. I don't think they'll overlook Detroit, although it's very easy to overlook Detroit. I know. The last time I covered a game in Detroit, it was at the Silverdome. I mean, I'm sorry, at the in Pontiac. Yeah. So and I used to love that arena, but that floor is going to be ugly. The only thing uglier than these floors is the court, the home court at Oregon, when they put that stuff on that floor sometimes. This is the ugliest foot I've ever seen.
Where the 3-point line at?
Oh,
Where the 3-point
line
at?
Horrible.
I thought the tree was.
But there's reason to watch. You can watch homeboy Jalen Duren. There's some things going on out there, and Detroit's going to be feisty because they don't want to get bullied. And this is a game that can right their season for them. Because similarly they're on a losing streak as the Sixers are on a win streak. So I think that the Sixers will win this game, Keith. I'm not worried about this being a trap game for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they made that progression to where you shouldn't be concerned with that. But it's also something that you got to bring up. You got to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm Nick Nurse, I'm saying, look, y'all, we here for a reason. Just a bit. I mean, like, forget about, like, the in-season tournament game is right. But right now, we're trying to, we're trying to win. We're trying to get, keep our spot in the standings. The one thing, though, I do like about this game is, like you said, get in, get out. Try to do that, but also feel like you could work on certain things.
Right.
Like you have an opportunity because the next 3 games are going to be tough. They got Indiana in a 2-game homestand, and then they go to then you have Boston, then you have Atlanta, right? So Indiana, like we said, is an emerging team. Boston is probably going to say, okay, that was the first time we played y'all. Now we know we have a better idea what you're going to try to do.
And that's in Boston, right? That game.
No, that's in Philly. That's in Philly, yeah. Wow. So it's in Philly. So they're going to try to be like, we're going to try to see what we, try to correct some things. But so they get a little reprieve on that one. But it is what it is. But at the same time, I just feel like this is going to be a test for the Sixers, just because in the past. It was like, I mean, the Sixers were weird, man, in the past. Like, teams that you would expect them to lose to, they would beat. But then when they would go play Bobo squads, they would lose.
Yeah.
They would lose. So this is a try. I mean, people forget a couple years ago. What was it? It was not this past season, but the season before that. The Sixers ended up, I believe, at the the third or whatever is third. They were tied for the second best record in the league, so they got the third seed. But they could have easily had the best record. What happened is the game that really hurt them down the stretch was when they came to Detroit and lost to a horrible Pistons team. And then all of a sudden, everybody talked about the other games they lost. But if they would have won that game, they would have been good. They would have been good.
Yeah.
And, so you look at things like that and you say, like, you got to take care of your business. You really have to take care of your business. That was the series where that's when they had James Harden. That was when he first came, right?
Okay.
That was the first season that he came. And I think they lost to Toronto or something like people like that. But it was that loss to the Detroit.
Okay.
A horrible Detroit team that destroyed them. So it's not out of the realm of Detroit to beat the Sixers. You think that they won't, but it's not. People aren't going to be like, oh my gosh, the sky is falling or whatever. Oh, I'm shocked.
Right.
This happened before. So this is the major growth that we'll learn.
Right.
If the Sixers approved under Nick Nurse or not.
Yeah. And again, it's going to be a test. It's going to be a test in that they have struggled in trap games, particularly under Doc. And like I said, going back to Brett Brown, they struggled in trap games. So, and this it could be a letdown. You go from the top of the mountain to the outhouse, as some might say. So, and Detroit is definitely one of the outhouses of the NBA. So we'll see.
Yep. For right now, I want to talk to y'all about Jace case. The Jace case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use. All it takes to get a Jace case is fill out a simple online form and in some cases jump on a quick call with one of our board-certified physicians. Get ongoing care from our physicians on any treatment-related questions. Doctor created, doctor recommended. Don't get caught unprepared, y'all. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. Jace handles everything from online evaluations to licensed pharmacy medical delivery and ongoing consultant care, right? So what you need to do is just go to jace.com, jacemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com and tell them that we sent you Locked On 76ers and you can get this Jace case. Do it today, people. Definitely do it today. Now, Mitch, I want to talk to you about when we look at the standings, right? You look at the 76ers. You see where the 76ers were supposed to be, third or fourth in the East, right? Because no one knew the James Harden situation.
Right.
But then when you look at the Milwaukee Bucks, you see where Dame Lillard was supposed to be the guy to elevate them. Everybody expected them and the Boston Celtics to just dominate.
Right.
Now you see it, whereas Milwaukee dropped to 5-3 after losing to the Pacers last night, right? And so if you look at the standings, you see where the Sixers are 6-1, Boston is 5-2, Indiana is third at 6-3, Atlanta is 5-3, tied with Milwaukee at 5-3, and Atlanta holds the tiebreaker because Atlanta beat Milwaukee, right? So when you look at this, and Giannis had over 50-something points last night in a loss. When you look at this, is it too early to say the sky is falling or too early to hit the panic button? If you're a Bucks fan?
Yeah, I think it is. I think that the Bucks will come around. When all the trades had settled, I thought that they were either the top team or number 2. I like everybody else. I've got Boston and Milwaukee at the top of the conference. I didn't have the 76ers in that top tier anymore. I had them in the next tier. And just trying, because I didn't know what their chemistry would be like. And let's be quite honest, we're still seeing what the chemistry is like. And I think with teams like when you have this is something, and I know you recognize this from being around the league as long as you do. When teams add elite players, the chemistry takes a little bit longer to hold. Wouldn't you say, Keith? When you bring in,
I definitely say.
it's an ego thing. When you make trades, like when the Sixers acquired James Harden, I think the Sixers hit the ground running, and then they ran into that Brooklyn team was playing without Ben Simmons. Not that that's saying very much, but they were, and they came to Wells Fargo Center and stomped on the Sixers. And then people kind of, pumped the brakes, on how good the 76ers were going to be. And because I think Milwaukee, when you add a dynamic player like Dame to a guy who in my opinion, is among that top three, among the top two, because I still say that Jokic and the Greek Freak are the top. I'm still waiting for other than I hold Embiid out of that category until he advances beyond the second round. I just have to. On pure talent, he's as talented as anybody. But yeah, so I think the dynamic of bringing in, and the Clippers are kind of going through it too. If we really still believe, all those guys are stars out there. I mean, obviously Westbrook is no longer a star, and those guys are aging players now. But I think that Milwaukee, I think that they'll get on track. Boston has pretty much been on track until they're in the middle of a 2-game losing streak now.
Yeah.
They've got the Sixers. They lost to the Sixers and they lost to Minnesota. So but I do think I think Milwaukee will get on track. Will really get on track, and I think at some point, death will be an issue for them, and that's one thing that's in the 76ers' advantage against a lot of these teams. Whether they go ahead and pull the trigger on a trade and bring in another elite player, that remains to be seen. But the Sixers have depth, and some other teams don't have depth. So, and they have fortunately, they have a guy like Maxey who's ascending. So, and he's easier to work. He's becoming a star right in front of our eyes. And unlike Milwaukee, and even the Bucks, the Celtics, who have to work in Drew Holiday, who is a point and very even keeled guy, but there is that adjustment phase that teams are going through, and when you have elite players, you have a longer adjustment period. Particularly guys who are like all-star. I got to figure out my role more. There's not a whole lot of that going on with the Sixers. The Sixers are in a position where they can say, "Hey, I need we need to be more aggressive under our new coach," and that's what he's asking us to do. And we don't have the ego situation.
Yeah. It typically takes a lot. Like, here's the thing. I will say this. You remember, and when people did a prime example of it takes a while for a team to gel is, you remember the 2013-14 Miami Heat, where that's when LeBron went there. They had D Wade, they had all that, Chris Bosh.
Yeah.
And LeBron was like, "We're gonna win 5 championships, right?" So the thing is, people forget they struggled out the gate.
They did.
Like, they struggled out the gate, and they did make it to the chip, and they ended up losing.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they lost that year to the Dallas Mavericks. It was.
Yeah, Dirk lit them up.
Yeah, Dirk lit them up.
Yeah,
and then
they had no chemistry.
They had none. Exactly.
Even at
they didn't even know. Like, at that point, LeBron kept deferring to D Wade. Remember? And then D Wade had to put him out there, and like not put him out there, but push him out there and be like, "Yo, you got to be. We're gonna run through you," and that's when they won. So it does take a while to gel, and I think that when we look at what the Sixers are doing right now, and you see it, it's kind of like, that's why people are getting excited, because it just seems like things have been seamless for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they haven't hit any adversity yet. That's going to come. But typically when you do this, and let's face it, the Sixers didn't have to incorporate a big time star. Like, if they would have made a trade, and let's say they would have got Zach LaVine, or they would have got Donovan Mitchell or someone like that, then I think that we would probably see some growing pains in regards to, okay, who's taking over down the stretch? who's doing this, who's doing that. All right, like okay, you gotta, how is somebody going to feel when they're no longer the go-to guy? So there's a lot of things that you have to incorporate. But the thing is, I just hope that you look at it where Giannis had 54 points, but his late turnover in the game ended up costing them the game. And then so you're saying, well, dang, I'm scoring 54 points. And then the other guys, and I should be winning, but then other guys like, yo, but you turned the ball over late. I should have the ball. Like, I'm not saying that they're those type of players or people, but at the same time, those are certain things when you win, when you're doing stuff like that and you lose, it could be some finger pointing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think those guys will figure it out. I do. But there is a possibility for that, and they were coming off of that game. Giannis just gotten ejected, the night before. And they again, I'm not worried about Milwaukee. I think one thing they did, they did lose a glue player in losing Drew. Drew's a guy who held that team together and did so many things. And again, when you put two superstars and Dame is still in his prime, he's not descending from his prime. There's some coaching stuff going on there. New coach. They've got to pull it together. But I think they will. I think they can and they will.
They will. We'll talk more about some other things when we get right back from this live read. PrizePick is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. We are the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch winnings roll in. With the basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League, a league created specifically for combo projections that includes 2 or more players from different sports or leagues. For example, LeBron James plus Travis Kelce at a 10.5 combo of 3-pointers made plus receptions. And then you can also watch to play alongside some of PrizePicks' favorite players like rapper Meek Mill and comedian Andrew Schultz. You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in the PrizePicks community each week. Now, PrizePicks even offers a reboot policy that your entries stay in play even if one of your players get injured. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, the player is rebooted. PrizePicks is the only fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. So what do you do, y'all? How do we do this? Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match to $100. I'm going to repeat. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the LockedOnNBA code for your first deposit match up to $100. I'm telling y'all, do it today, people. Definitely do it today.
I think the Chiefs are off this weekend, though, so you don't want to. I think so. You don't want to pick Travis Kelce this week.
I know, that would be crazy. Yo, you told me to pick Travis Kelce. Not this week. Not this week. But not this week. Now you can pick Joel Embiid, and you can pick Dak Prescott just because they're probably going to kill. They're probably going to set records against the Giants. You know what I mean?
That's going to be brutal.
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that right there. You might. I want to pick the Clippers, but you'd be good. You'd be good outside of that. But yeah, that's crazy, right? So, Mitch, when you look at, we talked about we talked about this last stretch, as a big barometer for the Sixers. Now the Sixers did go 5-0 at home, and we ended up that some of the teams weren't as good as we thought.
Right.
Now we also included in our stretch, we included the Indiana Pacers games. There are 2 games in there as well, and the 1 game against Boston. But Atlanta's balling.
Yeah.
But it just seems like this upcoming next 4 games after this one, and I'm not looking past this team, but I'm looking past this team for us.
Yeah.
But the next 4 games are really going to be defining for the 76ers. We're going to learn a lot about the 76ers.
Yeah, the competition will step up. We'll see some better teams coming here. You'll get a Boston team that will want to avenge that loss, especially when they made a nice little rally at the end of that game. So yeah, this is a stretch where we'll get a chance to see. Again, we don't have the clunkers in there that we've had during this stretch. Washington, Detroit, Toronto, teams that aren't playing that just aren't that good, quite frankly. So it's going to be a test for them, but I think the Sixers are ready for it. Keith, I know we keep prefacing everything we say by saying it's early, and it is. But as you look around the Eastern Conference, and if you look around the league, there are a lot of teams that are struggling. Excuse me, and the Sixers aren't one of them. So, I'm really looking forward once again to that Boston game, and Atlanta's going to be interesting because Atlanta gives them problems.
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta's going to be interesting. I'm looking at, you look at the Indiana Pacers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, they're kind of sort of the surprise team right now. I mean, again, it's still early. They played 9 games. But I believe what I mentioned, they're 3rd in the East, right? They're the 3rd, got the 3rd best record in the East. Tyrese Haliburton, man, he is balling. I mean, when we talk about what Tyrese Maxey is doing, and we see what he's saying, and you say Tyrese Maxey can be an all-star this year. Like he's off to that start. But then you look and you see what Tyrese Haliburton is doing, and he's definitely been the head of the snake. I mean, this guy is averaging 23.6 points. He's averaging 11.6 assists.
Yeah.
And then you have Miles Turner, who's averaging 17.6 points, 1.7 blocks, 8.2 rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
So, this team they're not getting the love that you expect them to, but they're playing well. And the one big thing is you look at Bruce Brown, like the guy who they signed in free agency was with Milwaukee. I mean, he's providing the spark. He's 11.2 points. I mean, well, I shouldn't say spark because he's starting, but 11.2 points and one steal a game, 1.1 steals a game. So, this team is going to be a formidable foe for the Sixers, and I'm really looking forward to covering these 2 games.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Tyrese Haliburton was a name who often came up as a guy, in connection with the 76ers before the whole Harden thing worked out.
Yeah.
So and I knew he was a good player. I mean, like you said, is he leading the league in assists this year?
I mean, you know what? You would assume, right? It's one of those things where, matter of fact, I'm gonna look that up right now, because. 1.6? That's a lot, man. That's a lot. That's a lot. I mean, that's again, is only, is only what 8 games,
right?
But you have to believe that he is. Let's check it out. I wish I had that beforehand, but it was one of them things where I said, let me just pull up my man and see what the brother is doing. Let's see what he's doing. Tyrese Haliburton. And that's the thing, like last year, came out of him and James. Yep, he is. He is the NBA assist leader. And he's running away with it. So he's averaging 11.6 assists. Trae Young is number 2 at 10.1. LaMelo Ball, 3rd at 9 even. Luka Doncic is 4th with 8.8. Let's see where Tyrese Maxey. Now, Tyrese Maxey is 12th on that list with 7 assists per game. So yeah, but yeah, man, my man, dang, it's crazy. Nikola Jokic is number 7, the
That's
center.
crazy.
Yeah, at what is it, 7.4? No, this is crazy. Look, this is now talk about ball movement. So
Yeah,
the Joker is 8th, 7th on the list at 8 assists a game.
that's crazy.
Jamal Murray is 8th on the
Wow.
list at 7.4. Talk about ball movement.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You can do this with
Sharing the
Nicole,
ball.
somebody like Nicole on your roster. You can, it becomes contagious, man.
Yeah, it really does. It really
Becomes
does.
contagious.
It comes to days. But look, y'all, we want to thank y'all for listening and today. Thank you guys for watching the YouTube channel too. But we want to let you guys know that you can get this podcast wherever you get your podcasts at, and it's free and available. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts at. But also make sure you go to our Locked On 76ers YouTube channel, right? What you do is when you go there, make sure you click on the Liberty Bell. That enables you to become a new subscriber. And then also it gives you notifications whenever we have a new podcast, right? So what we want y'all to do is make sure you look at the game tonight, if right. But if you do, don't adjust your TV. The court might be ugly. It might be like crazy colors, but don't adjust your TV. Just know that I have to be there and watch it, and I'm a little upset that I don't have any sunshades.
You'll be
And
in Technicolor.
huh?
In Technicolor.
In Technicolor, exactly.
But it's harder for people watching it than it is.
Yeah. You talking about people watching it on TV?
On TV, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine. But so have a blessed day, and we want to thank y'all for listening. Peace.
Take care. Enjoy Michigan.